welcome to another episode of HP Critical. It's a podcast where my friends and I talk all things gaming. I am Jarrell, and I am joined by Christy.
Hi, everybody.
And Brandon.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're going to have a little bit of, it's a very chill podcast. There wasn't too much news that we want to report on this week, so it'll be a quick one. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it whenever and however you listen. But first up, how you guys been? What you been playing?
Pretty chill, honestly, this last week. Well, I got a night. I was telling y'all this morning, I got a nice 11-hour sleep because it was actually last week was kind of exhausting. So I slept very well today. Yeah, I've been doing chores, just playing games. Not much change from last. I've been just playing mostly the Pokemon DLC, just trying to catch them all. I've only got like 9 left before I'm done with the Kitakami Pokedex, so very happy about that. I will be done with that soon.
Do you know?
Yes, I do know which one I need. I need all the new legendaries that they added. Just a few odds and ends that I either need to catch at a different time of day or need to trade with a friend. That's pretty much it. I need to learn my phone because it's making noise in the background. But Christy, how are you doing? What you been playing?
I'm alive.
Oh no!
I'm here. I'm alive. I'm here. Yeah, if for any listeners who don't know, I guess I did not really announce it on my socials, but I'm going back to grad school, so I'm slightly dead about half the time. So, I've been playing the Pokemon DLC. I think I have about 60 more Pokemon left to catch. I got like 120 already, so there's 80 more. Sorry, mental math. I just need to catch 80 more Pokemon, but I'm super excited to play Detective Pikachu Returns next week.
It is next week.
What?
God, that is sneaking up on
me. Next Friday.
Oh my god.
Next Friday.
No way.
My god. That's so close. That's so close.
I haven't done anything. I haven't finished any games. What's going on? I guess I gotta go play Final Fantasy 16 after this. Because I'm still not done with that. Oh my gosh. Alright, well let's get
granted, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for not finishing 16. It's just that the side quest, there are a lot like the FF14, the fetch quest, and around Reborn. So, I don't blame you. It's a struggle sometimes.
Yeah, I think it was a bad idea to... Sorry, Brandon. I think it was a bad idea to make... And I understand why it's done, because I think it can be very dynamic, and it makes a difference gameplay-wise to make side quests only doable on certain parts of the story. Obviously, because of the things that happen in the game, you're not going to be able to access things back and forth. However, I was so happy when I read that Rebirth is not going to do that, and you can access the side content anytime in the game, whenever you feel like it. And I think that's so important for... I never thought it would be a thing, but now that I'm older, and now that I'm older and the way that I play games has kind of changed, because you can't just, get out of school and just hop on your game until you gotta go to bed. You can't do that anymore. Yeah, we've got lots of jobs and lots of things we gotta do, and so you really have to determine how you're going to spend your time. And I think that's what's been slowing me down actually with 16, is that I have to do all of these right now because I can't go back to them later because they're only available at a certain time. And I love that Rebirth, with everything that it has, it's going to be, it's reported to be over 100 hours of content. It's going to have its own card game in it. It's gonna have it's gonna have so much stuff. So I'm so happy that it's not gonna be like, oh, you have to do all this now. You can literally do it whenever you want. That's all I was gonna say about that. I'm very excited about that, and I think more games should not have restrictions. I know it's a lot of stuff based on story, I get that, but it does kind of suck when you're forced to stop the main storyline to veer off onto some side quests that you might not even enjoy.
And I think I told both of you this is back when I was still playing 16. For the most part, I think the side quests do present themselves at a time where I think they'd be natural in the story. Like, okay, Clive is relaxing for a little bit before his next main mission, so here's when the side quests populate. from a narrative perspective, I'm like, okay, this seems like a natural time to do side quests. But let me tell y'all, and I mentioned this a few months ago. There is a point in the story where I won't go into specifics, but place is burning. People are in major danger. We gotta go.
Yeah.
Side quests pop up. I'm like, literally, part of my language, but fuck you. I'm not doing these right now.
But you have to.
It's I don't know. Like
I mean,
I
you
was
don't
able.
have you don't have to, but it's like
Specific
you
side
feel
quests
like you have to because it's
Okay.
there.
Okay, so you said these specific things you don't have to do.
But that's the only time in the story where I just didn't do the side quest right, because this was there's a thing called ludo narrative dissonance, and this was like the peak of that, where it's like, no, I am not going to go find some whatever for you when there's little lives on the line. So no, thank you.
That is like oh, I have to cough. Oh my god, don't do it. That is like that point in The Last of Us Part 2, and if you played The Last of Us 2, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The point in the story where things come to a head and it's a climax between Ellie and Abby, and then it completely just says no, fuck you. Like, now you have to play a whole other part of the game until you can get back here, and it was the worst experience I've ever had in gaming like that. But
Last of Us Part 2 took some big swings, but holy crap, there's some pacing issues to say the least.
That was my least favorite thing. But before I get off on topic, we're already off. Let's veer back on.
You said this is a chill podcast anyway.
It's my fault.
No, it's not. I thought it was a chill podcast. Yeah, like
straight up. Yeah, no, this is fine. We don't have that much news, so it's like we could
like
bullshit a little bit.
It's totally fine. Because I could now, just talk about my obsession with Lorcana, but we're gonna move on. So Embracer CEO Lars Wingfors says that the company is seeking outside investments for some projects to avoid some layoffs, but also, quote, ultimately we are making decisions to either restructure or downsize some teams, and there will be a few cases of closures. There's strong, vibrant market with many active players. This is on possible divestment of studios, both financial sponsors and big industry players, but it's easier to run proper processes for, I would say, more high value assets than smaller assets. Basically, Embracer Group, which I believe now also has, they bought some studios from Sony, correct? Including Sony and Crystal Dynamics, including Tomb Raider.
Yes, I do remember them getting Dynamics and Tomb Raider.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, weren't they also the studio that purchased like Crystal Dynamics?
Yes.
And I think didn't they purchase? I think kind of the Western company Square owned as well too.
I'm pretty sure
like Eidos.
Yeah.
So I just looked it up here so I can have it for you. There's a list of mergers and acquisitions by Embracer Group. And I'm only gonna go over the most recent ones, which the assets from Square Enix Europe that they got were Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal. They also have Tripwire Interactive, Middle Earth Enterprises, Limited Run Games, Bitwave Games, Tatsujin from Japan, Anime Limited, VR Distribution. I think those are pretty much the big recent ones.
Okay.
And I can't forget their comics things. They have Dark Horse Media, so all the Dark Horse comics, which are pretty big. Dark Horse Entertainment, Dark Horse Games, Dark Horse Manga.
That's a pretty big acquisition. I can't believe I didn't hear about that one.
And this one was
I didn't even know that.
2021. This is not recent.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think we talked about it like briefly.
I think it was briefly like mentioned, like in the footnote,
like 3 years ago. Like that's how long we've been doing this. But I remember talking about it. But yeah, those are some of the bigger ones, and so it's so surprising for them to take on something as big as a lot of these titles, and then to be in this position.
True, yeah.
And it sucks. Like, to be honest, it sucks. Anytime there's a studio that's dealing with layoffs, it sucks. It sucks for employees. It sucks for gamers. It sucks for the industry all around. So we'll see what happens with Tomb Raider.
And especially for the company too.
Well,
not Embracer, but like the company that they own. They own.
Yes. 100%.
happens moving forward. Although it all does not seem very good. So next up, there are video games that are releasing within a 1 week period in 2024. This is from January 25th to February 2nd, and we're all not gonna have time to play all of them. And those are Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy, Under Night in Birth 2 Sis Celis, Tekken 8, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, the best game. You guys should probably get it. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Persona 3 Reload, a really good game. And Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which we know was pushed back for a little bit. And I think the Ace Attorney. No, it's not Ace Attorney.
You said that one, Apollo Justice.
Yeah, you
I did.
Apollo.
Yeah.
So, we know that January is usually a traditionally slow month for games. It's gonna be very crowded. How are we feeling about this 2024 January lineup?
It's just so hilarious.
It's rough
to
for
me.
people who love those games.
It is. If you are someone that plays a lot of games, this is going to be very, very rough. Definitely for the game journals that we are all acquainted with are definitely going to have themselves a rough month.
I mean,
but,
us too.
Sure, no, for sure. Like, a lot of those games I'm very much interested in. Like, we're starting with Persona 3,
Like Persona
for
3
example.
Reload.
Yeah.
And then Apollo Justice, which we've all been begging for it to be ported over to the Switch, and it's finally being ported over, and you're like, what do you mean it's being released next to Persona 3 Reload? And also, Like a Dragon? What? Really?
Just 2 big RPGs.
Really?
And Tekken 8, which I'm really looking forward to. Like, I'll probably just dabble in that because it's a fighting game. I can just kind of like check in on it every now and then. Persona 3 Reload, I'm going to play that as much as possible before Rebirth comes out because that's like only a month away, so there's that problem too.
The way I'm not playing nothing when Rebirth comes out, but Rebirth, like, I don't care. Sorry.
How are we in this situation again? Or me in this situation? Because 2020, Persona 5 Royal and Remake came out the same year too.
And
now, but
after Kingdom Hearts, right?
Kingdom Hearts, it was right after the DLC of Kingdom Hearts, because that was January.
It was right after the DLC.
Yes.
The DLC was in January, and then FF3
thankfully, I had that done by then.
March.
Well, the story portion of the DLC, not the optional boss fights that followed, because that's Anyway, but we're in this situation again. The difference was 2020 was COVID, so I had a lot of time off.
Yes.
so I was able to actually give enough time to both Remake and Royal. I don't have that anymore. I'm really gonna have to pick and choose how I spend my time. Just like Persona, it makes you figure out how to spend your time management and all that good stuff. So there's that. Apollo Justice being I'll get it just to make sure it gets supported, but that's not a big worry because I had no intention of playing that immediately at launch anyway, because one, I've already played them, but I'm probably going to do like a stream series of that at some point, which I'm definitely going to be doing right when it comes out. That's something in the future. It definitely came out a lot sooner than I was hoping / expecting, so I'll do that when I can. Just okay, but I just also want to bring up one last thing about the games in January. Because we did talk about this earlier this year on the podcast about the delay of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And that's, well, people weren't happy with the way that game was looking as it was getting close to release. So they were like, we're going to delay it, which was both a combination of, I think, just kind of like retweaking some things to make it look more appealing to people that actually wanted to buy the game, and little less, I think the little secret of the curtain there was, behind the curtain there was the fact that that game was releasing at a very crowded time when in its original release date. And, the idea was, let's delay it so, it probably has a better chance to shine. Let's put it in January. No games come out in January. It's a quiet time. Fast forward to now, and, oh boy. To a degree, I feel bad for developers because, oh my God, they're just like, this is what they were trying to avoid, and now the month that's supposed to be like the not crowded month is now filled to the brim with games.
Yeah, so, I think the only thing they have that is at their benefit is the fact that it's the only game like it on the list.
This is true.
Like,
but it certainly isn't. But it certainly isn't the only game. But it isn't the only game like it in recent history of being a live service game.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So yeah.
I think from this list, I'm 100% getting Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Like I mentioned, if you have not played Like a Dragon, you can get it on sale super cheap somewhere, I'm sure. Please, please, please do yourself the favor of doing it, especially if you like RPGs. Like, you will love this game. If you like Final Fantasy, if you like Dragon Quest, if you like just RPGs in general, turn-based. It's turn-based combat, so don't think it's like that action games like the others in the series. Is turn-based combat. It's super fun. It plays with lots of video game tropes. Like, it's a great game. Go do it before Infinite Wealth, and then go watch the Infinite Wealth trailer, and then everybody go play Infinite Wealth. It's gonna be great. I'll be getting Infinite Wealth. I've been looking at Grand Blue Fantasy Relink for years. It's crazy. The game's actually coming out now because it's been so freaking long. I'm gonna hold off on P3 Reload. Probably get it when it's on sale again, or play it on Game Pass. The Persona games take a long time, and I don't want to be bogged down by that before Rebirth. Same thing with Suicide Squad.
I just kind of wish that, given that Rebirth is relatively close to it, that Reload was also getting a Switch release, because then it's like, okay, I'll play Rebirth at home and Reload when I'm, on the go or on a break at work or something. But no, now I'm really gonna have to choose now, and it's almost certainly going to be Rebirth. So Reload's going to take a break, and then in 2 or 3 months when I'm done with Rebirth, and then I'm like, all right, back to Reload. Fuck, what am I doing? How do I Persona?
Persona?
Right.
The RPG break is devastating.
Well, did you play the original, Brandon?
I dabbled in P3 Fez when I got PS2. I got the PS2 version of my PS3 through the PlayStation Store. I have not touched Portable. Like, it was always on my list, but I kind of said, I'm okay. Reload's coming out. I'll just do that as my P3 experience.
Yeah, makes sense. So next up, let's talk about Christy and I had a very long conversation about this, actually.
We did.
So we're not going to go into the long conversation that Christy and I had about it, although we should at some point, because I feel like it would be a very interesting conversation topic. But Microsoft, we did see their data, which talked about their revenue, and how they made $15 billion in revenue in 2021. And I'm not going to talk about comparisons that were made, but I will talk about more of their money situation that we know about. So the big three net revenue fiscal year for 2023 aligned as follows, with Sony PlayStation making $26.791 billion, Microsoft making $15.43 billion, and Nintendo making $12.042 billion. And the article goes on to say that based on these revenues, we can see that PlayStation made $11.3 billion more than Xbox and $14.7 billion more than Nintendo, and Xbox made $3.4 billion more than Nintendo. Once again, though, this is only revenue, and it goes on to say revenues aren't everything. Nintendo managed to deliver a $3.792 billion in operating profit versus PlayStation's $1.846 billion operating profit. PlayStation's profits were slightly down due to factors like the $3.6 billion acquisition of Bungie, and we do not know Xbox profits margins because they do not share them. So that's why it's so important, because any business is gonna, say, wow, our revenue is great, but you're also going to look at the amount of money that you made, and Nintendo has clearly made more money than PlayStation. So it's a very interesting conversation that we're not gonna have right now. But the only reason I wanted to bring this up is
we're not gonna have, because I am also tired.
Yeah. The reason I wanted to bring it up, though, is because last week we were talking about Xbox and their performance. And so these numbers were just to prove that they aren't doing as bad as I think a lot of people think they are. And that was just the whole talking point there. $15 billion in revenue is nothing to sneeze at. And they're doing pretty decent for themselves, or they were in 2021, right after all these conversations came up that we talked about last week as far as acquisitions went for Nintendo. And then once again, of course, when you look at it, that means they made 1 billion more than Nintendo in revenue in that year. So then you can kind of see how some of these conversations go. But still, Nintendo made more profit than they did either way. But yeah, that was that. If there are any comments on that, otherwise I can move on.
No.
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay. So, excuse me. Next up, oh my god, I need more water. There's a tweet from I am Rob TV that says, "Imagine if Epic Games just decided, hey guys, we're shutting down the Fortnite servers forever, and you're losing all of your skins and cosmetics you paid for. Don't worry though, Fortnite 2 is coming." That's basically what Activision is doing tomorrow, and this was in response to Warzone 1 being shut down. This was 4 days ago. And none of the skins transfer over, as far as I'm aware, to Warzone 2. So everything that you bought and purchased in Warzone 1, which is a live service game if I am not mistaken, because it's not like it's a free to play game, but it's a live service. The servers are being shut down and nothing is transferring over as far as I understand. And a lot of people supposedly didn't even play the multiplayer in Warzone 1. So you can't play, you won't be able to play the game at all. It's completely being wiped. All your money's being gone, being, spent. You can't get it back. However, the only, and this isn't even a caveat for them. There was a piece of news that I don't think we got to talk about, which was that the FTC is now allowing people to get refunds on purchases that they made through Fortnite and Epic Games, which I think is great for a lot of people. But this was brought up by Gabe. He's not here, but the reason I personally wanted to talk about this is because I wanted to talk about the bigger understanding of what it means to not own our games anymore and the future of games not being owned. Because I think this is the first time that we've had such a high profile game end up in a situation where it's just completely shut down, and no matter what money you've spent on it or what you've done, it's just gone. I think the most recent was from Overwatch to Overwatch 2, which, people did get everything they paid for, and eventually everything was sent over, but that was a huge deal. But it kind of just calls into question the future of and that's what I want to talk to you guys about. This kind of just calls into question the future of gaming, which we all know is going to be digital. Like we can own our physical copies, but they can still, they come on 2 discs nowadays because they're so big, and they can still block you from even playing your physical games on your consoles, even if you own it. This is
through software updates.
Yeah, they can just shut it down if they want to. So with that coming up, how do you guys feel about the future of gaming when things like this happen? Are you concerned? Are you afraid? Is it just an inevitability, so you don't care? How does this affect you personally? Not this game specifically. I mean the topic.
Yeah, of course. Just the topic at large. Yeah.
It's
So go ahead, Chrissy.
concerning, to say the least. It's like you spend so much money on these games. It's like, I know for some of us, we do purchase collector's editions of games that we really love. And even though it's a physical copy, the fact that in the future, through software updates, we're not able to even download them or play them, it's a bit concerning, because it's like, why do I need the internet to play my game that's on a physical disc? Shouldn't I just be able to pop it in the console and play it? It shouldn't be this big thing where we need internet all the time, constant internet connection just to play the game.
Yeah. Something that you said, Jarrell, was which I just want to emphasize real quick. You said specifically, game. This has never happened for a game that this high profile. If you play a lot of live service games, particularly gacha games, there does come a point where those servers end and all those microtransaction purchases you made have just disappeared into the aether, unfortunately. But like you said, no, this is a Warzone, Call of Duty, one of the biggest franchises ever. So again, this has happened before, but now more people are paying attention because it is such a high profile release, and I do wonder what that's going to mean for the future of these kind of games. The fortunate answer is I don't think it'll change too much. Like I think companies are going to continue to do this if they like. Realistically, there is no server of any game that can last forever. Even Fortnite, as popular as there will come a time, whether it be a decade, 20 years from now, where the servers will just end, and then they'll have to all those skins that they had the legacy of building will disappear, and that is something that that's just the reality of it. I think it's obviously unfortunate that we are nearing inching closer to a future where games that gaming is becoming kind of like an impertinent thing where something that you bought today just may not function 5 years depending on the kind of game it is. Physical goes a long way in stopping that because you own your physical game. And assuming you're buying like a game that doesn't really have an online component, that in theory could last for a long time. But the thing is, consoles don't last forever. So even if you own a physical game for this console, there's no guarantee that you'll have that console forever because over time it'll just wear and tear and just not work anymore. And then the secondhand market of the consoles just may not work either. It's just like nothing in gaming, unfortunately, is completely permanent. It's a lot more dicey than other media because music can be preserved in any number of different ways and it'll still sound for the most part the same. Same thing with movies. They can be preserved with streaming services or whatever the current physical format is. But gaming, just because they're tied to the consoles that they're made for more often than not, it's just difficult to sometimes support certain games for. Like DS games are notoriously hard to maintain these days just because of how much it took advantage of the two screens. Just as an example. So
It's the same thing with the PS3 games too. Apparently, they're
yeah,
notoriously difficult to port.
which is why
So that's
they're
the reason
like,
why we don't see as many PS3 games, and we're still waiting for the Final Fantasy 13
Ugh,
yeah,
trilogy
no,
to come.
ugh.
that's and that yeah, like Christy hit the nail on the head. PS3 games have that issue too. That's why there's notoriously hard to port, which is why they got lumped into streaming as if you're like have like the PlayStation Plus services right now. So unless they go back and just like make the game from scratch and like to port it to modern platforms, it's kind of stuck in that format, which is very unfortunate. But no, like I want to be very clear. I think this is a very unfortunate thing, but I think this is something that in a way has always really existed. The impertinence of the games, just like being able to just disappear at a moment's notice. It's just more apparent with live service games
Yeah.
because they are 100% based on online community and a server and those kind of purchases. They're just more susceptible to dying sooner than most other games, I feel. So yeah, short answer is I hate it, but it is what it is.
Do you think that Fortnite and Epic Games are kind of watching to see what the reaction is to Warzone, so that way they can make plans for Fortnite in the future?
I don't
I
think
suppose
so.
that's possible. I suppose that's possible. I think Fortnite, as long as it's lasted already, I think there's always a way they could keep something going with Fortnite. I think that's something they may want to look into sooner rather than later. Making some kind of mode that, like, even if you could just play like with local friends without having like a server or anything like that, would probably go a long way. Or making some more offline content. Look, realistically, Fortnite's not going anywhere anytime soon, but it will. So it would behoove them to try to like figure out a way to make that game still playable in some way, even when its end is nigh.
I said no, and I think that's because 100% Epic Games. First of all, like we all know, Epic Games has their timeline of what they're gonna do with Fortnite and how they're gonna do it. So kind of like to Brandon's point, that it's not. I don't think it's something they're concerned about anytime soon. And also, I feel like the biggest backlash for Warzone has just been because it wasn't just that they got rid of Warzone, right? Like they got rid of Warzone 1, but they're telling everybody just go play Warzone 2. So there's something there that they're like, okay, well, we did this
I
one thing,
forgot to
but go
mention it.
over here. And
I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry. I just wanted to cut in real quick. Like that's one aspect of this that I did forget to mention that you're getting the direct successor to this thing that you're shutting off for. So as much as I say it is what it is, in this case it's kind of crummy because you are getting a Warzone 2 that is replacing it and nothing is transferring over. Like Overwatch 2 obviously is getting lambasted for a lot of the issues it caused, but at least you could carry your purchases over eventually and still have all your skins and whatnot. But Warzone 2 isn't even offering you that. like none of it is from what you're telling me, which that's like, yikes.
Yeah, and as far as Epic Games, the reason I said I disagree is because with the FTC's ruling, you can get refunds now from Epic Games. So I feel like the big
I forgot about
thing
that.
that would have caused issue with Epic has already kind of been solved with the FTC,
Sure.
which is just like if they're
Completely
gonna
forgot about that.
yeah, so if they're gonna shut it down and move you over to Fortnite 2, just get a refund as much as you can. If they're gonna if they're gonna shut down Fortnite 1 to put us over on Fortnite 2, I do not think that they're going to not have your stuff transfer. Specifically
Mm-hmm.
because they have so many licenses that they had to acquire just now to have you've got celebrities, you've got anime, you've got video games, you've got movies, you've got TV shows, you've got some of the biggest legendary things and people in Fortnite. There is zero way they're gonna be like, no, you can't have Ariana Grande fight Dragon Ball Z characters versus My Hero characters versus Resident Evil characters anymore in Fortnite 2, because that's a part of the novelty of the entire game. So I don't think they, like, if they're watching this at all, I think it's just to be like, yeah, if we ever do that, we know that we're having everything transfer over. And also
Sure.
because people can get refunds, I don't think it will essentially be a problem, like, at all. I think and I think that because specifically Fortnite is free, right? I feel like the problem with Overwatch was that Overwatch was a purchase that you made at $60 and you owned everything, so every new thing you already had. That became a free to play service game that would cost you more in the long run to be able to continue to get the things that you used to get for free.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what upsets people more than just the changes that happened in Fortnite as far as game modes and stuff. I'm sorry, in Overwatch as far as game modes and stuff. I think that's what upset people, like me specifically. Like, I used to get all this stuff for free. Now I have to buy a $20 battle pass to get all these things every, like, excuse me, every 2 months, which before the year is out, I've now paid twice for this game, and I'm supposed to keep doing that in perpetuity to be able to keep up to what I used to get for $60. Now, of course, that does make a live service game much more sustainable because now you have people that are paying battle passes, and yeah, sure,
Yeah.
it's free now, but you end up spending more money. So I think that's what upset people a lot, and I feel like Fortnite, if it does go down this road, doesn't have that issue because it initially started as a free game with a battle pass. So it's not like it's like, oh, we used to give all of this for free, now we're taking it away. It's like, we're doing the same thing, except for you can get a refund now thanks to the FTC. So, like, I don't feel like they would have any issues. I don't think they would need to, watch this for anything. I feel like they've kind of figured it out, as opposed to Activision Blizzard, who just likes to take people's money. Fortnite, not Fortnite, Overwatch, Call of Duty, etc. Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
I talked a lot. But that was
Sorry
a great
for the
question.
tangent.
No, that was a great question. Thank you. So in Tekken 8, you're now allowed to take control of your character during a replay at any point for 10 seconds to see what you could have done differently than what you did. It's
That
pretty
is
cool.
so freaking
That is really
cool.
cool.
That is such a good tool for like those who want to get better. You lost a match, play your replay. Oh man, what if I did this option at this point? Would that have changed anything? Like, for any 10-second interval of that replay, you can just take control and just see what you could have done better. Hell, that's even useful if you won. Like, how could I have taken less damage in case I come against a stronger opponent? If I had done this option, would I have lost this battle? How much was riding on this move that I made? There's just a plethora of options you could do from just being able to essentially go back in the past and do something different. Even if you weren't trying to learn, that's just a cool thing to do. Just like if you just want to see how like you just want to relive one of your best fights. Just like it could be just fun for that too. How many times do we play single player games? Christy knows what I'm talking about. We kept this save file so we could do this specific part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a replay of a fight that was like, man, that fight was so cool. What if I just did it? That's
right? Especially for like the old PS2, PS game saves, or like the GameCube. Oh my goodness, I have so many of those games.
there's no. I have nothing bad to say about this. This is just such a cool thing in so many different ways. I love that this exists.
I might have to pick it up. I might have to pick it up. I haven't played fighting games in like so long, but I just may have to pick it up because that's such a cool feature.
All this did was, and I'm sorry for Mortal Kombat players out there, but all this did was to me cement why. What?
No, keep going, please.
All this did for me was cement why Street Fighter and Tekken are the top two games in fighters, because you look at what Street Fighter 6 was able to accomplish with World Tour mode and the Battle Hub and introducing modern controls along with classic controls for people who want to play the game but aren't as good as some of those people that have been playing for years. All of these new introductions and new ways to get people into the game, but also to get them to learn how to play and open up your title. Same thing with things like this at Tekken 8. Like, it seems like a very small, just really cool type thing, but for someone who's trying to improve, being able to recognize what you did wrong and fix it in time with your replay is such a big deal, because a lot of people, when you're learning how to play these games, it's about the practicality of being able to do it, right? Like, if Brandon and I are playing and he's beating me and he's like, all right, so this is what you could have done and this is what you should have done, and he shows me how to do it, the moment is gone. So it's just him telling me how these things should have worked out, as opposed to like, hey, let's run that replay back. Let you do this again and see like what you think could have changed or what you think could have been different. And then,
you have a hands-on learning experience.
Exactly. It's the practicality of being able to do it in the moment and being like, all right, this is how I handle this type of situation. And Tekken 8 isn't out yet. We just discussed this coming next year, but stuff like that, stuff like I love the feature. I think that it's purely novelty, but the feature to be able to turn on commentary during Street Fighter 6 matches is so fun when you're playing with friends casually at home. Like, it's the little things like that aren't included in games and other fighters that I think keep those two games at the top. It is why Street Fighter 6 is in the position that it's in. It's why Tekken 8 is going to continue to be the game that it is. It's why we get Street Fighter Cross Tekken and not Street Fighter Cross Mortal Kombat. Even though we're still waiting for Tekken Cross Street Fighter, but I won't bring that one up.
Yeah, I'm just this feature and so much more. I'm looking so much to Tekken 8. I like the most excited newcomer for me for Tekken 8 is Azucena, the Coffee Queen. She looks so cool.
Yes, Coffee Queen, yes. And just bizarre characters.
You guys see that trailer, Christy? She's great. Azucena.
I have to see her now.
Yeah,
I will send.
Great.
Keep talking to her. I will send her the trailer so she can watch it after the podcast.
I'm looking. Oh my goodness, she looks amazing.
She does, right?
Oh yeah, and I've heard from some friends and coworkers that Mortal Kombat 1 is boring.
Boring?
Yes.
Ew, really?
Yes. That after you get over the novelty of it, it is kind of boring. And I was like, what does that even mean? And then, they went on to describe just like, they put it down already to pick up Street Fighter 6 again, because it's fun, like, playing the game, but there's not the extras that you get, and the time when you don't want to fight competitively all the time, you just want to chill, play some games like
llama.
Yes, llamas and alpaca.
All that type of stuff is kind of missing. But anyway, I'll move on, because we've moved on to the alpaca. I'll move on.
She's watching the cute trailer. Yeah, she has an alpaca from Peru, which is awesome.
So, as announced on the official Platinum Games account, Hideki Kamiya will be leaving Platinum Games on October 12th, 2023. And he had a message that I will read to you guys on his Twitter, which says, as announced on the official Platinum Games X account, X, not Twitter. I'll be leaving Platinum Games on October 12th, 2023. This has come after a lot of consideration based on my own beliefs, and was by no means an easy decision to make. However, I feel this outcome is for the best. I will continue to create in my Hideki Kamiya way. I hope you'll keep your eyes peeled. And that's that.
That's this is the for those who are watching the video version of this podcast. That's why I'm wearing the Wonderful 101 shirt because of this announcement. Um, this is pretty shocking if I'm being quite real because for those who know the history of Hideki Kamiya, he used to work, of course, for Capcom. He was behind
Resident Evil
the
2.
Yes, he was behind Resident Evil 2, and then in making a new Resident Evil game is how Devil May Cry was created because it started as a Resident Evil game, but it went so far off the rails that it just became its own franchise, which became Devil May
Yeah,
Cry.
it was originally, I think, planned to be like a Resident Evil 4 or something before they actually did the actual Resident Evil 4 concept, and then it went so far off the rails. They're like, it has to be its own thing now, guys.
Yeah, they gave Kamiya a lot of freedom for that game, and that's just what it became.
Yeah, his most notable works were, just for everyone to know, Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry, Beautiful Joe, Okami, Bayonetta, and The Wonderful 101.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's what I was kind of like leaning into is like, yeah, he made some great franchises for Capcom. Obviously, Resident Evil 2, like you said, Beautiful Joe and Devil May Cry. But eventually, I guess he felt like stifled with Capcom. He felt he wanted to, spread his creative wings more, and that's kind of how he and a bunch of other people from Capcom ended up creating Platinum Games. He is essentially one of the founders of that studio, and it was made so they could just make more kind of games that they wanted, which usually are character action games. In fact, it's almost always character action games. And that's how we got stuff like Bayonetta, how we got stuff like The Wonderful 101. So for him to step away from this company that he essentially helped build to give him that freedom to make something else is interesting. I wonder if maybe he once again felt chained down, even though this was more or less a company he created and just wanted to spread his creative wings more. And maybe that's just what he's doing. So we don't know where he's going next. He didn't really say that, and he doesn't have to, obviously. So I'm curious if he makes another company that makes again more specific games that he wants to make, or if he joins a company that's like offering him money to let him do what he wants. I'm just curious to see where he ends up. He has a interesting presence on social media, but there's no doubt that his games are top notch quality. So I am very curious to see where he ends up, what kind of games he makes.
Yeah, I mean, he was director and supervisor on a lot of the titles that came out of Platinum Games recently.
Yeah.
So and so it's like he maybe you're right. Maybe he had his hand in a lot of the stuff, and he was like, all right, time to go venture off and do my own thing again.
I will say, Platinum Games, top-notch studio, but their quality is sometimes hit or miss, and the only reason that is the case is because of sometimes they get roped into the project that they never necessarily may not do. Because even though they're a good quality studio, they're, I would say, only maybe like a grade above indie studio in terms of how much budget they get. How much budget they get.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they don't have a lot of money. So oftentimes a company will say, hey, we really want to make this licensed game. Can you do it? So then they make a game like the Legend of Korra game, which was okay, but they had time constraints to make it, and it was like a solid 6 out of 10. I think a lot of reviewers gave it, or that Transformers game, which ended up being a lot better than people thought it was going to be, and then the Ninja Turtles.
Wasn't it the same for Astral? Did they also make Astral Chain too? And I think that got some decent reviews too for the Switch.
Astral Chain got
decent
reviews.
That different company.
On Astral Chain.
Yes, yeah. So they're like, if they're given the time and the freedom, I think they end up more often than not making really good games. But it's when they have to get licensed out to make like these other projects that it seems like not as their quality is a lot more hit or miss. So maybe that's why Kamiya left. Maybe he just wanted to not be in a studio that's always has to make games that they don't want to make just to make sure they stay alive. So I don't know. It's a possibility. We don't know the full reason. But again, you can see where he goes from here.
Speaking of seeing where people go, let's talk about someone who isn't going anywhere. And that is Capcom, because they said they would gracefully decline any acquisition offer from Microsoft. Quote, I believe it would be better if we were equal partners, says COO Haruhiro Tsujimoto. And that's from Bloomberg.com. And yeah, I think he said it all. I don't know that there's anything else left to say.
There's nothing else to add.
There really isn't. I just love the fact that they specifically said would gracefully decline.
I mean, you gotta do it.
in other words, they're not going to laugh you out of the room, like we said last podcast, like a certain studio would. No, like it's like, well, thank you for your interest, but we will not be doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Like,
but no
like,
thanks.
full respect, which I find hilarious. But there it is. Yeah, Capcom will remain independent. Cool.
The other part of this is just that, like, you just wonder how much of this would not have happened or come out had those emails not leaked, right? Because he had no other reason to say this, like, at all, aside from
Yep.
the leaked Microsoft emails. And what sucks so much is that, like, you have to be, for Microsoft, you have to be in a position where you're just like, damn, like, all these people are thinking this of us now because of emails that were not supposed to be out in the open. So it's just like,
Yeah,
now Capcom is like gracefully declining an acquisition
an offer that may have not even been made.
Yeah, like it's like, what do we look like now to the greater industry?
I didn't even think about that, Drill. Like, what if the next few weeks we just start seeing statements from various companies
no
saying
thanks.
either no thanks or hey, you can use Microsoft's money, buy us out, fam.
Right?
We're open.
Why not?
Like,
Platinum Games.
But even then, it's like,
oh my god.
even then, it's like Microsoft is in Japan right now too.
Yeah, Platinum Games. We like, yeah, buy us, Microsoft. Bring back Scalebound.
Let's go, because they did it. What did you say, Christy?
I was like, how terrible was it for Microsoft, who I think they were like in Japan during TGS, where like the emails to leak like right before they landed in Japan.
Yes.
It's like, oh god, that would have been a that's just a nightmare.
Yeah. Apparently, they were really hard to find. Phil Spencer was really hard to find out at TGS, apparently. And I see why. It would also be really hard to find.
I wonder why.
It would also be really hard to find.
Because I'm pretty sure the media over there would have had a field day.
Yep. It's just, I do feel bad for them, though, about this specifically, because I can only imagine, like, my own emails to my team going out and then random, like, COOs being like, hey, no thanks. I'm like, I didn't even ask. Like, but okay, thanks for letting me know you're not an option.
But I mean, like, at the same time, it's like, how many times have emails been hacked in like the past several years? Like, this is a known thing. Like, nothing is ever truly secure, even if you're on your own company's email. Like,
true, but 100% I agree with you, but at the same time, then how am I supposed to have these types of conversations that are business conversations? You know what I mean? Like,
over the phone.
These are all, but these are with people that are not going to be in the same area or in the same time zones or everything at the same time. So it's like,
on a Zoom call.
Okay.
Things that will not leave a paper trail.
But these
are times where you're like, I don't want...
Flight to Japan, billionaire.
I completely hear you, but I don't think that any of these conversations were as, like, we read some of them, and I don't think they were as bad as the media is making them seem. It was very much a matter of fact of, like, hey, it might be a really good idea to consider acquiring Nintendo at this time because they are sitting on a pile of money, and it could make us a lot of money. That was the conversation. Like, it wasn't like, oh, Nintendo sucks, we're going to buy them out because they're trash, or we're going to buy them out because we think that we're better than everybody else. And I feel like the conversation is spun to make the perception be that. But that wasn't what those emails technically said. So, like, even then, reading them, I don't feel like they were emails that were so secretive that they needed to be Zoom calls. Like, this is just like a, hey, I have a thought. Like, look at these companies. I'm thinking about this. What do you think? Let me know. And those are average, regular emails. Now, did they get turned into something ridiculous? Yes. But just to slightly be fair for Microsoft, like, if you actually go and, like, for anyone listening, if you actually go and read those emails, they pretty much were just like, hey, Nintendo's sitting on a lot of money. It could be, you know, a strategic benefit for us if we acquired them. Let's talk about it. Smiley face. Now, some of them were like, yeah, no, we have a better, you know, we've got a better situation than PlayStation does right now. But also, they thought that they did. So why wouldn't it be? None of it was like top secret, like, cannot expose this Microsoft core information.
I think in one of them, they were like, well, we have a former Microsoft board of directors, like, buying Nintendo shares. And so you're like, you probably shouldn't have disclosed that in an email.
Fair. 100% fair. Yes, 100% agree with you. You were completely correct. Yeah. So I take back what I said. I was just talking about the previous emails of like acquisitions, but that is correct. And with that,
But even then,
huh?
nothing.
I
Nothing.
I didn't hear
I'm not
you
gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything.
I didn't hear what you said.
We'll go off on a tangent.
Okay. Okay. Well, with that, good night, everybody. I think we're done here. Bye.
Oh,
Oh,
goodbye,
okay.
everyone. See ya.
Bye.